So before we get going, I want to just explain, what is DepositLink? The best way of it to explain it is it's a commercial Venmo account. So it's just a way of transferring money from one account to another, just like you have a personal Venmo account. This is a commercial Venmo account. So basically wanted to set that up. And this is one of three or four ways that LAER allows our agents to collect monies, like the earnest money deposit or the purchase and sale deposit. So I'm just going to go over the options that you do have as a LAER agent. Obviously, number one, you can actually have your client drop off a check, or you can drop off a check at a LAER office. I would double check to make sure we have an admin in that office, as LAER has many offices all over Massachusetts, Connecticut, Maine, and New Hampshire. But just make sure if you're dropping off a check or having your client drop off a check that we do have an admin in their hours there. So I would call the listing agent on that. You can always mail in, your clients can mail in checks to our Chelmsford office. We do ask that if you're going to send or have your clients send the purchase and sale check, purchase and sale check, buy a check through the mail, to mail it to our LAER Realty Partners Office, 173 Chelmsford Street, Chelmsford, Massachusetts, 01824. Okay, so if they're going to do it that way, they should do it that way. So then the other ways we have is we have DepositLink, which is a commercial Venmo, which we're going to go over today. We also have Earnest, which is another kind of Venmo account. I prefer, if you're asking me between Earnest or DepositLink, I prefer DepositLink. There's a couple of reasons why. Number one, they vet the funds before it clears. So I really like that. You get very good communication. So where the transaction is, did the sellers fill it out? We're going to go over that. So the different statuses, but you get emailed where we are in the status, which I love. So I prefer DepositLink. I just do. So what you do is when you're a new agent at LAER, we will add you to the brokerage account for DepositLink, which has all of our escrow accounts logged in and set up for you. So um, you will get invited in. You'll get an email invited in. But if you lose the email, it's very easy how to just go there. You don't need the email to sign up. All you need to go is to depositlink.com. You put that right here in your URL. You just type in depositlink.com. It'll bring you to the signature page or the sign in page. You always sign in with your LAER email. This is my training one, so it has my Gmail, not my LAER one. So, but for training, for you, we always set up DepositLink using your LAER email. Now, the first time you log in, you are going to have to hit the forgot your password just to create your password. So that's only a one time. Once you know your password and you write it down and save it, you won't have to do that step anymore. What it may ask you is there is a two-step authenticity. They might send to your cell phone, because what I do when I set you up as a LAER agent, I do put in your phone that you have on file with us. They are going to send a security code to make sure you are you, and so that you can get in. That'll go directly to your phone. It's usually a 6-digit code. You put that in and then you're signed in. So let's just sign in. So I'm going to sign in as an agent. So I've signed in as an agent. Now, before we go into, because this training is not going to be long at all, so before we get into how to do this, I want to just explain how Deposit Link started. So everybody knows we had COVID in 2020. Nobody wanted to touch paper, drive anywhere, touch anything. And so this company was born, DepositLink, which again is a commercial Venmo account, how to transfer monies from one account into another. So basically, that's how we started. LAER, just so you know, was one of the first brokerages to establish this using DepositLink. Nobody else has even noticed it, but now this is 6 years later. A lot of brokerages are using the platform DepositLink, but LAER was one of the first. LAER is always the forerunner, usually, in any kind of new technology that is going to help support our agents to get their jobs done and to make it easier for them. And so we've been using DepositLink since 2020. So just wanted to state that. So now a lot of brokerage are saying, do you use DepositLink? Yes, we have been using DepositLink. LAER has been using DepositLink since 2020. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of background on what DepositLink is and how to use it. Now, this video is going to be so easy because it's literally is going to take you less than 3 minutes to make a request. Now, the only caveat to using DepositLink is if you're a listing agent, you usually don't have anything to do with escrow monies or P&S monies. That's just the buyer agent's responsibility. But how DepositLink works is you, the listing agent, are just going to set up a request to the buyer agent. Literally less than 3 minutes. You could probably do it in less than a minute, but because I'm explaining to it, it'll be taking a little longer. So this is your dashboard right here. So once you log in, these are your option here. These are your transaction. These are your deals. So right here, they're right on the first page, request payment for sale. So if there's a drop down here. So you're going to obviously earn a month's deposit, request the deposit directly from the buyer or through the buyer's agent. Obviously, we will never request it from the buyer if we're the listing agent because we are overstepping our bounds. So you would be sending it to the buyer agent. Now, there's also this commission, request a commission from another brokerage or a third party. So you can request your commission, but what I would do is before you do that, I would call up that brokerage to make sure they even use that loop because they're going to have to accept the request in order to send the funds. So I would just make sure that the other brokerage you're requesting even knows about that loop or wants you to use it that way. There is also one here for rentals. If you do a lot of rentals, you can request payment for rental, request a commission from a tenant, landlord, or other third party, or you can request a deposit directly from a tenant or through a tenant's agent. Obviously, you would probably use this one if two agents are involved, okay? But if you want to, if your commission is coming from your landlord, you can request the commission through here. So basically, it works the same way. You're just going to pick the option you want, and then a template comes up and the you fill in the information. So for this training purposes, you're going to go right here. This is for your purchase and sale deposit. Usually you already have earnest money deposit comes with the offer, but if not, you use the same one for earnest money deposit for an offer as well as a purchase and sale deposit. So we're going to hit this. Now, I'm just going to move this. Enter the property address associated with this payment. So if if it's on the MLS, once you start typing it in, it'll pull from the MLS. I should have looked for a active listing so that I could do that, but for training purposes, I am just going to do a manual entry. But if you did, again, if it was on the MLS, your listing obviously would be on the MLS. Once you started typing in your address, see, it's going to pull from the different MLSs. So I am not going to do this. I just wanted to show you that because you do have an option if it's a non-MLS listing or a for sale by owner, you can manually enter this. So you're going to hit, and now you're going to write the property address. I'm just going to make this up. So I'm going to write 3 test or training. I'm going to put, okay, test for training. That's what I'm put the address as. There's no apartment number. We'll put East Long Meadow. Massachusetts 01028. So I can type it in manually and then you just hit the continue button. Now, we don't want to do this. Okay, so basically all you're going to do is fill in the prompt. So it did this. So you created a new deal and your role. So it already knows and will already default me as a listing agent because remember, the listing agent has to request this from the buyer agent. Okay, literally less than 3 minutes. So it already checks that off for you. You're going to continue. You're going to put enter the amount. So what is the amount? We'll say it's a purchase and sale agreement, so we need 25,000. So 25,000. And now this is automatically going to default to you. I would not play with this. I would not play with this. So today's the 12th and this is the 14th. So it's giving your client or the buyer's client 48 hours to get this and to fill it out and send it back. I would not play with this. Somebody changed it to today's date at 12 o'clock or at 1 o'clock. And what's going to happen is it's going to expire and the buyer is not going to be able to use the link. The link will then become dead because the request has expired. So this is, if needed, the deadline can be edited later. But I would just leave this as it is, unless you know that the buyer is away for a week. You could put this out then. If you know that the buyer's on vacation and has no access to the internet, you can then put it out. But I, again, would not change this default thing. And so here's your summary up here, just so you can see. So now, because I put this, that it automatically will select the bank account for you. So when I put in East Long Meadow, Mass, it knows it has to go into East Long, it needs to go to the Massachusetts escrow, so it picks it. So if this was your listing was in New Hampshire, it would pick the New Hampshire, uh, it would pick this, the New Hampshire. So it does it for you. You don't have to worry about that. You're just going to hit continue. Now, as a listing agent, you're always going to request this through the buyer agent. You're never going to directly send it to the buyer because we do not have their email and we are not to talk to the buyer if there's a buyer agent. So obviously you're going to put request through the buyer and you're going to put in the So I'm going to put now, because what it's doing, it's reading from the MLS. So I put in P. Marino, who's an excellent agent out of the East Long Meadow office. I just happened to know his email by heart. So when I put in his email, it filled in the information for him, including the company. So now we're just going to hit continue and share payment status receipts with others. So you can add a receipt. Now, I would use this like if you were collecting for a landlord, you can add the landlord's address so that he could see that the receipts. So basically, when the money's being transferred and it's cleared, the landlord will be notified as well. So usually when it's a listing, I just don't add anybody else. So you want to fill this in. Now, this is not required. All of this is not required. So you can skip it if you want to. It's always a good thing to put it in. I'm just going to put it in. And I would definitely put in the closing date because that just helps. All of this stuff is on the receipt. MLS ID, I would definitely put the MLS ID in, and then you're just going to continue. So it says shared documents related to this payment with your finance team. I just skip this. Don't even bother going that. You're going to go to continue. And now here's your review and confirm. So basically, you're just going to look at this to make sure it's earnest money deposit. This is the address, which we made up. It's going into the Massachusetts escrow. And again, it picked it automatically because of the address I put. It was a Massachusetts listing. The deadline we didn't change. It's going to Peter Marino. We're asking for 25,000. Memo. What I do here is I would definitely fill this out. So is this an EMD, earnest money deposit? You could put that. Or if it's a P&S deposit, I would just put that. Three little letters, and that just lets the accounting team know, is this a earnest money deposit, binding check money, or is this purchase and sale money? So this is important. It says optional. If I had to do this, I would make this mandatory only because, or required only because it really does help the accounting department. So I'm going to hit request payment. Now, it's already gone. It says right here, request successful, email sent to the buyer's agent. And here's the link for the buyer agent to open up. Now, what's going to happen here? So what I would do is here, the buyer agent now has just got an email saying that are requesting a earnest money deposit. They open up the email. They have to open it up and they have to, because they have to put in their buyer's email address. So they just open it up, they add their buyer's name and email address, and then that goes to the buyer. The buyer then opens up their email, hits the link, which connects his bank to our bank. And so basically it works just like a Venmo account. So what I would do is, if you have the buyer agent's number, which you probably do, you can either text them saying, hey, I just submitted the uh, earnest money deposit. It went to your email. Or if you're in dot loop, which you should be using dot loop and have it open all the time, in there under the people section, you should have the buyer agent there. You can send her a message through dot loop. I cover all of that in our dot loop training. So if you haven't taken the dot loop training, it's totally worth your while. 1 hour will transform your real estate business. Just learning one of the basic and major tools in real estate is dot loop. So you can then email the agent through dot loop and just say, you know, I sent you the link. You can even copy the link in there if you want to. So basically, that is it. That is the whole thing. That's it. It is so easy. Now, if you go to transactions, uh, this is the one that we just did. So if you go to your transactions, this is saying that I initiated that and it's giving you the date. So it tells you there, these are all your deals that are listed. These are all the deals that I've ever done. So you have transactions are your current ones, and then deals are done, transactions you've done in the past. So I just wanted to go over that. So this is just saying that you're initiated. Now I wanted to go over the status. So you're going to get a couple of emails from DepositLink. And one of them is this, that you initiated a $25,000 earnest money deposit right here, earnest money deposit through the buyer agent. And you can view this. So here it is. It looks like viewed. Now, okay, so if you make a mistake and you catch it right away, you can cancel this payment. Canceling will close the payment so it can't be completed. So if you make a mistake in the address, now you have to catch this right away, but you could cancel right there and start over, okay? So a request for payment has been sent to buyer agent to connect the buyer to the or tenant to the payment. So this is just the receipt that you initialed it. So it says, and it's going to say your name and the amount, and it's going to the recipient is us, and there's the MLS. So basically that's and you can download the receipt if you want to and put it into your you can put it into your loop. And here, notice how it says payment status is initiated. I wanted you to see that because you're going to get a couple of these. It's going to change from initiated to pending. Okay. Pending means that the buyer has gotten the email from their agent. They had filled in the information and now the money's being transferred to LAER. Now, remember, this is being vetted, so it takes 5 business days for these to clear. So I wanted you to see this status and how to view it. Now, when you go to one and it says pending, that means that it's waiting. So it's gonna get vetted. It's coming from the buyer's bank into our bank. Then it goes into arriving soon. That means that it's gone from the buyer, it's been vetted, it's now being deposited into our bank, and then it's going to change that same day. It's going to be arriving today, and then it's going to say cleared. So it goes from initiated to pending to arriving today to cleared. And the arriving today and cleared, it's within hours, it will clear. So I wanted you to be aware of the status. So if I go to deals and I want to view this one expired because this is, again, my training account. So I'm looking at this one and it said it expired, and you can always hover over this. The payer did not make the payment before the deadline set by the agent who initiated the request. The agent must log in and set a new deadline to resend the request. So there is a resend button. So you can resend this, but you have to change. It's going to automatically default it. But so instead of doing the whole thing and having to type it all in over again, you're going to go to your deals. You're going to find the deal. Let me just cancel this. Oh, there we go. All right. So, um, and now resend. Here's the link. So we resent it to them and there was the link. So I hope I didn't go too fast in that. But if you go to your deals and you find the deal that expired, I'm just waiting it for the load because okay. So if you go to your deal and you view it, and we'll say this expired, so I'm going to view it and see how this one expired. All you have to do is resend it, okay, instead of having to go in and reset it all up. And basically, that's it. That's how easy Deposit Link is. I highly, highly, highly recommend that you use Deposit Link. It's just so much easier, especially now that more and more brokerages are coming on board, and a lot of them are asking us, do we use Deposit Link? And I kind of laugh. I'm like, we've been using it for 6 years. So again, this is the way that real estate is going. Okay, it's a commercial Venmo. Again, now there's an earnest money which is also another Venmo one. Now, a lot of agents don't want to use this because the listing agent is saying, I don't want to be bothered. That's not my responsibility to get the escrow in there. That is true. But again, it takes less than a minute to fill this out. It's done. If you prefer not to go in and fill this out, you can send an email to I'm going to type it in the chat. You can send this link. Now I have to look it up because it's a little long, but it's this link. So let's see, app dot depositlink.com pay. Okay, this is a link. Now, if you go to click on this, it's not going to do anything, okay? It's not a live link for you, the creator. But if you want to send this to the buyer agent in a text or anything like that, they can then forward this to the buyer and they would be able to get into this link. One little caveat here is the buyer who doesn't necessarily know the listing agent's name or the company they come from, they are going to need. So they would have to say, here's the link to make the deposit. Make sure they know it's LAER, that I'm with LAER Realty Partners and my name is Lisa Perruccio, because when they click that link, they're going to have to pick what brokerage we're from. And again, most buyers don't really know. They probably seen so many houses, they can't remember, which broker is this house that they're actually putting an offer in, is which listing broker it is, and they surely probably do not know your name. So in order for the buyer to use this link, you would just have to send the link to the buyer agent along with, please, make sure they know I'm with LAER Realty Partners and my full name is whatever on the MLS. So, and that will work. Now, Earnest kind of works like the same way. In Earnest, they just send a link. Again, they need to know from the drop down your name and the brokerage you come from. Again, it's just my personal preference. You can try both of them, Earnest and DepositLink, and see which one you prefer. Again, I prefer DepositLink because they really vet the monies, which means there's not going to be a lot of bounce checks. Okay, so that's what vetting a check means. They're vetting to make sure the money is there. Okay. So every now and then, it'll expire because the client's name is, we'll say, Clarence, okay? But he goes by Timothy. So we only know him as Clarence. The buyer agent knows him as Clarence. And so when the bank is trying to vet the money, what is on his actual bank account is probably Clarence. And we use the word, whatever I said, Timothy. And so if he tries to fill in as Timothy, it's going to send up a red flag to DepositLink. It's just a safeguard to save people's money. And that's another reason why I really like DepositLink. So just make sure that you know your client's full name. In other words, you should really get a copy of your client's license just for purchase and sale and everything else like that. It has to be the legal name of what's on the bank statements. So I just wanted to go over that, but basically that is it in a nutshell. I mean, literally, you can do them in less than a minute. Let me see. So I do have somebody on. So let's see. Mary Glavy's on. Hello, Mary. Mary, do you have any questions? I don't know when you actually got on, but if you have any questions at all, I'll take them now because basically the training is it's that short. It doesn't need a whole hour. So I usually field questions here. So Mary, if you have any questions, just put it in the chat. But again, every admin should know how to help you with DepositLink. And if they don't, you can always email Happy Agent at LAER Realty Partners with your question on DepositLink. They'll assign it to me and I can help you as well. If you have a transaction coordinator or if you have you pay for your own personal admin, they could go in and as long as they know your login and password, they can request it for you. Mary doesn't have any questions. Well, thanks, Mary, for that. And thank you for joining. But basically, that's it. That's it in a nutshell. I hope you do try DepositLink. You're going to love it once you try it. And again, if any questions do come up, all you have to do is send an email to happyagent@laerrealty.com and your question will be sent to me. So I am teaching again, not on DepositLink, but on Thursday, I am doing check request. So Thursday, I'm doing how to fill out a check request properly. So tune in next week. This week on Thursday, 12:30, and we'll be doing check requests. So until then, have a great week, everybody. And I really do hope try DepositLink. You'll love it. Thank you, everybody. Bye.